We will commence this session with 3 rounds of Ahankara. I cordially welcome Professor Ramesh M.N., Director, Anveshana Lab, S-VYASA. Please welcome, sir. I invite him to chair this session. I also welcome the speaker of this session, Professor M. Jayaraman ji. Please come, sir. Welcome, sir. I request Ms. Maheshwari ji to introduce the chairperson and the speaker of this session. Thank you.
Namaste. Thank you. Dr. Ramesh M.N. is a distinguished professor and head of the department at Molecular Bioscience Lab, S-VYASA, Bangalore. He holds a PhD in biochemistry from the Max Planck Institute and Jakob University, Germany, where his research focused on intricate mechanisms of gene expression regulation in E. coli with over 14 years of academic research experience. Dr. Ramesh has transitioned from plant tissue culture to immunology and molecular biology, contributing significantly to the understanding of chromatin dynamics and gene regulation. His postdoctoral training at UMass Medical School included advanced studies in eukaryotic systems, and protein biology. An accomplished researcher, Dr. Ramesh has authored numerous publications and has been recognized with prestigious awards, including the Max Planck Fellowship and UGC Research Award. He is committed to furthering scientific knowledge and monitoring the next generation of researchers in the fields of molecular biology. This is all about our respected Professor Ramesh ji. Now I would like to introduce our Jayaraman sir. It is my honor to introduce our esteemed speaker, Professor M. Jayaraman, who is currently serving as a professor and dean in Division of Yoga Spirituality, also our Dean of Academics. With a PhD in Sanskrit from University of Madras, Professor Jayaraman brings over 14 years of dedicated experience in academia and research, specializing in yoga and Sanskrit literature. He has made significant contributions to the fields, authoring 24 books and more than 20 scholarly articles. His notable publications such as Yogasya Bhasha, Ayurveda Shatamanam exemplify his commitment to integrating traditional knowledge with the contemporary educational practices. A sought-after resource person, he has played an instrumental role in nationwide training programs, fostering the integration of Indian knowledge system into modern education. As a principal investigator for various projects, Professor M. Jayaraman provides exceptional leadership and direction, ensuring the effective development and dissemination of educational content. His expertise in traditional yoga texts and methodologies positions him uniquely to guide our exploration today. Professor M. Jayaraman's dedications to promoting ancient wisdom is evident in his innovative initiatives, such as development of the Sanskrit through yoga course, which has enriched the learning of many. We are privileged to have you here, sir. Over to you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Phalam Sharirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopakarottam Pravaram Muninam Patanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi. Respected Chairperson Professor Ramesh sir and dear friends and colleagues, it's indeed a privilege to discuss the topic of Manas from Sankhya Yoga philosophy. one thing before I commence is why manas and other thoughts are being explored. What is the central theme? What is the objective of all the darshanas? Why do we have all these darshanas? Why do they explore the world? Why do they explore the world outside? Why do they explore the world inside? So the Bahya Prapancha, Antah Prapancha, what are they concerned about? The main purpose is dukkha nivritti, overcoming suffering. So all this exploration is directed towards overcoming suffering. So any analysis, any presentation, any discussion from the philosophy, the darshanas should culminate, especially when we are using, when we are discussing anything from the darshanas, finally it should culminate in how is this knowledge going to help us overcome suffering. So Sankhya also starts with dukkha trayabhighata. Why do I start studying Sankhya? We are all tormented by three dukkhas: adhi daivika, adhi bhautika, adhyatmika dukkha. Yoga also speaks about dukkha only. Heyam dukkham anagatam parinamatapa samskara dukkhaihi gunavritti virodhacha dukkhameva sarvam vivekinaha. Buddha, even in the Avaidika darshana, he was also concerned with dukkha only. The four Arya Satyas, dukkha, dukkha samudaya, dukkha nirodha gamini pratipat. These are the four. Suffering, cause of suffering, and dukkha nirodha, overcoming suffering, the state that is free from suffering, and the methodology to attain that freedom from suffering. So, be it Yoga Darshana, Sankhya Darshana, Bauddha, Vedanta, every other Darshana. So, all discussions should finally help us, any concept that is being discussed should help us how suffering in human life can be overcome. And even sir is there, Ramesh sir is there, he is a scientist par excellence. I think the objective of science is also that. So, that converges, science, philosophy, every other discipline. It converges, means what does science do? It reduces suffering in life. Can things be made easier? Can I do this with less suffering? All that. Earlier, if I have to communicate with another person, I have to run and then go and communicate. There were people in ancient times who were called as runners. There was no, now in a matter of second we just communicate with people. So in ancient times, not in ancient times, in 1900s, there were people who were runners. They will carry message from one place and they will run and communicate. Then came telegram and telegraph, all those things came. And then, so science also is the focus of science also is towards reducing the suffering in life, in various dimensions. So any discipline of science, philosophy, for that matter, any field of knowledge, so its objective is to reduce suffering. So this discussion or all the previous discussions or the next talk that is also going to come up, so all that should also be looked at. How will this knowledge reduce human suffering? How can it promote well-being or happiness? So it is that orientation that is required to fruitfully pursue all this knowledge. That is the first point that I would want to make. The second important point is, what is the theme of this, the entire workshop? Vedic philosophy of Manas. So we say Vedic philosophy of Manas and then we speak about Sankhya Yoga, Nyaya Vaisheshika, and then Ayurveda, all these things. Are these Vedic in nature? Of course. So though we celebrate Patanjali Maharshi, we celebrate Kapila, the founder of Sankhya, Gautama and Kanada connected to Nyaya Vaisheshika, Badarayana and Jaimini connected to Purvamimamsa, Uttaramimamsa, but all of them were inspired by the Vedas only. So why I am saying this is that there is a tendency, especially in sections of Western academia, that once you say a separate school of philosophy, it is as if you have disconnected yourself from the main body of knowledge. Oh, if you are speaking about yoga, you have nothing to do with the Vedas. If you speak about Sankhya, you have nothing to do with the Vedas. No. All these are essentially Vedic in nature. Without the initial insight of the Rishi in the mantras, the thought seed would not have been sown in the mind of Patanjali or Kapila or Vyasa or Jaimini. So, because it's very, when once things are detached from the Vedic source, people will easily misappropriate and digest the knowledge and come up with that, oh, this knowledge has come from us. We hear about the concept of mindfulness. Even what is that mindfulness? It has come from our pranayama practices. All that is referenced in Hatha Yoga Pradipika. If there is no manas, there is no use in doing pranayama. If the mind is not fixed on the inhalation and exhalation, we cannot call it as pranayama. As I inhale, my mind should be there with the inhalation. As I exhale, the mind should be there with the exhalation, which is nothing but mindfulness. This is there in Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And other Vedic texts also. But it is wrongly attributed to, means with due respects, to Buddhism. And then Buddhism has been digested by the Western. There is a separate category called as Western Buddhism. Means that Buddhism which has been digested by the West. You take a few Tibetan Buddhist scholars and then you experiment with them and then you call it, or there was a conference recently on Western Buddhism. So in this way and the roots of yoga. They say roots of yoga come from Buddhism. With due respects to the contributions of Buddha, the roots of yoga firmly, strongly and undoubtedly lie only in the Vedas. Including Hatha Yoga, which is called as to have originated in the 10th century, you have references to that in the Vedic literature. So hence, this seminar or the workshop is appropriately titled as Vedic Philosophy of Manas. Under the umbrella of Vedic philosophy, you get Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika. The shadow or the umbrella of Veda is always there. And rightfully so, because Vedas are so extensive. There are 10,000 mantras in the Rig Veda, and equally vast is the Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda. It is full of such wisdom. And that's why I start with the Vedic roots of Sankhya Yoga. All that the Sankhya, Yoga, etc. say, but I am not taking anything away from Patanjali Maharshi or Kapila Maharshi. They have developed a beautiful system. The Panchavimshati Tattvas, the 25 principles, that is the original, unique contribution of Kapila. The Chitta Vrittis, the Kleshas, the categorization of them, the Ashtanga Yoga, the Abhyasa Vairagya, Kriya Yoga, the organization of it. That is the unique contribution of Patanjali. As Patanjali himself says, it is Yoga Anushasanam. Shishtasya Shasanam Anushasanam. I have just organized the wisdom existing prior to me and presented. I have only packaged it in a systematic manner. That's what Patanjali himself says. So hence, from that Vedic roots, we should be firmly established and then look into the original genius. So the original inspiration comes from the Vedas, and then of course the later systematic thinkers like Patanjali, Kapila and others have devised, improvised and brought in so much of wisdom. Nothing to take away, nothing is taken away from them, but that Vedic roots is emphasized. So that's why this Sankhya and Yoga have firm Vedic roots. For that you have the mantra in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kaman tatkaranam sankhya yogadhigamyam nyatva devam muchyate sarvapapaihi. This is a what mantra? Vedic Upanishadic mantra that already mentions about Sankhya and Yoga. If you want only for yoga, okay, that is also there. Tam yogamiti manyante sthiram indriya dharanam. The definition of yoga, the first ever definition of yoga comes from, again, the Kathopanishad. Okay, I want only for Sankhya. For that also there is a lot of references. You have this mantra, very famous mantra, Ajamekam lohita shukla krishnam bhakvim prajam janayanti gumsarupam ajo hyeko jushamano nushete jaha atyenam bhukta bhoga majo onyaha. This mantra appears in various versions in Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Mahanarayana Upanishad, and so many other Upanishads. This mantra is available, which speaks Eka Aja, one unborn principle. Aja. Aja does not mean a goat. The word Aja means a goat. It also etymologically thinking about it. Na jayate iti ajaha. Na jayate iti aja. So that one unborn principle is there. It is a lohita shukla krishna. It has the red, white and black hues. That one unchanging unborn principle has a red, white and black hues. So this is one aspect. And then there is one ajaha. There is one another unborn principle. A principle without a birth. This is nothing but Prakriti with the three gunas, Lohita, Shukla, Krishna, and then Purusha separately. So this Purusha Prakriti with the three gunas is already hinted in, of course, the manifestations, the effects of that in various walks of life, that is observed later. But the original indication of this basic Prakriti Purusha division and Prakriti being endowed with the three gunas is there in the Vedas. Of course, and then the creation sequence. Prakriter Mahan Tato Ahankara Tasmad Ganascha Shodashakaha Tasmadapi Shodashakat Panchabhya Panchabhutani. This sequence, this cosmology that is presented in Sankhya, that is from Prakriti, Mahat, from Mahat, Ahankara, from Ahankara, the 16 principles, they are created. That is also hinted in the Kathopanishad. Indriyebhya parahyartha arthebhyascha parammanaha manasastu parabuddhi buddher atma mahan paraha. This Mahat principle, the Buddhi principle, all this is hinted in the Vedas. So we have to dig deeper into the Vedas. I will not go further. I have made my point here saying that the very first thing that we have to look into is we have to acknowledge the Vedic roots of all these darshanas. If we fail to acknowledge, we will be creating more and more, or we will be reinventing the wheel, or we will be disconnecting, like we will become independent islands disconnecting from the huge continent of knowledge that is the Vedas. So hence, and that is very dangerous for the civilization also. So, see, you know the story of the four bulls. As long as they stayed together, they could face the what? Lion. If they are separated, then each of them were devoured. So this basic connect to the mass body of literature of the Vedas, the principles therein is to be maintained intact so that the knowledge is not segmented, atomized and digested. So from a civilizational perspective, this is a basic point that I would want to make. Now going to the second aspect. Now the idea of Manas from Sankhya is what I am going to take. In the previous talk, Dr. Sridhar mentioned about Sankhya and Yoga being Samatantra, having similar philosophical moorings. So of them, Sankhya comes first and Yoga comes later. So hence I will take up Sankhya's idea first. And it is upon the Sankhya scaffolding or the Sankhya framework, the yogic practices are built. So hence first we will look into Sankhya and then we will go into the Yoga. So basically my inputs on Manas comes from the Sankhya Karika written by Ishvara Krishna, somewhere between 350 to 400 CE. That's where he lived. For Sankhya also, we had Sankhya Sutras. Just like Yoga Sutras, we had Sankhya Sutras by Kapila Maharshi, but due to the ravages of time, that text is lost. So the primary text in Sankhya literature is Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna. So this text is revered in all later philosophical. Whenever you want to highlight something from Sankhya, dispute something from Sankhya, disprove something in Sankhya, or even quote Sankhya, people always go to Sankhya Karika of Ishvara Krishna only. And then the number of verses in this text is anywhere between 70 to 73. There are various editions, etc. Even this has been translated to Tibetan, and from there it was translated back. Some original verses were retained from that. So this is called as a Suvarna Saptati, the golden 70. The Buddhists, the Tibetan people, they revered this literature text as to be golden 70 verses. So some of it was retranslated and some verses were regained that way also. So much of interesting information is there. So basically, whatever be the number of verses, varying verses, the first 69 are the ones which convey, or the 69 are the ones which convey the basic philosophical tenets. The final verses speak about the Guru Parampara, etc., etc. And then there are many commentators who have commented upon Sankhya Karika. There is one by very, very scholarly, very deep analysis by Vachaspati Mishra, and then Tattva Kaumudi by him, and then Gaudapada, who is the Acharya, who is considered as the teacher of Shankaracharya's teacher. Shankara, before Shankara was Govinda Bhagavat Pada, before him is Gaudapada. So Gaudapada is said to have written a very lucid, beautiful commentary. That text is even available. So my interpretations of the Sankhya Karika, which is in the form of verses, is based on Gaudapada's commentary. Now, this much of an introductory input means why I am saying this is, if you want to refer back, if you want to read up more about what I have mentioned, you can go back to this literature. It is not a literature introduction that I am doing here. Whatever I have, in all these, I have given the verse number, etc. So, if you want to go back, this is where you have to go back to refer further. That's why I mentioned all these things. Okay. Now, in the evolution of the world, so the 22nd verse of Sankhya Karika says, what is the components of the evolution? Prakriti. From Prakriti, there is the Mahat principle. From the Mahat, the Ahankara appears, and then from the Ahankara, a set of 16 principles emerge, and from in that 16 principles there are 5. From that 5, another 5 emerges. So Panchabhya Panchabhutani. So this is the structure. Prakriti, I will just briefly explain what all this means. Prakriti refers to primordial matter. Primordial matter. The matter in its unmanifest, indivisible form. And from Prakriti, what happens is, in the proximity of the consciousness, Prakriti starts working, and then from Prakriti, the Mahat principle, the first intelligent principle comes. From the Mahat, the individualization, that, oh, I exist, that comes. And from that Ahankara, a set of 16 emerges. What are the 16? The 5 karmendriyas, 5 jnanendriyas, 5 tanmatras. Tanmatras are the raw material for the 5 elements. That much I will say, I am not going into that. And then Manas, our hero, is coming here. So among the 16 that emerges from Ahankara, you find the Manas. And from the 5 tanmatras, further you get the 5 elements. So that sums up the creation process of Sankhya, where you get step 1 Prakriti, step 2 is Mahat, step 3 is Ahankara. As a 4th evolute, in the sequence of evolution, as a 4th evolute, a set of 16 emerges. In that you find the Manas. So it is also interesting when we say from Ahankara, the set of 16 emerges. If the Ahankara, when the Ahankara is dominated by Sattva, then the 11 senses emerge. 5 Karmendriyas, 5 Jnanendriya and 1 Manas emerge from the Sattvika Ahankara. The 5 Tanmatras, the raw material for the 5 elements, they emerge from Tamasa Ahankara. So Sattvika Ahankara and Tamasa Ahankara, they emerge like this. This is the structure. So this is where it is. This is where we can locate the idea of Manas. But I would want to present a little more complete picture about the role of Manas. It's very interesting that in Sankhya philosophy, they don't start with the matter. Of course, the discussion starts with the matter, but it doesn't go in the way our minds are considered to looking at matter. So normally when we look at the primordial form of the matter, and of course, even going by the training of the Nyaya Vaisheshika, what do they say? There is one indivisible state of matter. From that, 2 Paramanus join, we get a Dvyanuka. 2 Dvyanukas join, we find a Trenuka. 3 Trenukas they join, Chaturanuka. In this way, we see from an unmanifest material state, all this joined together, and then the matter comes to its manifest state. That is how to some extent the modern scientific perception is also there. And Nyaya Vaisheshika also goes by the matter related manifestation only. And then the mind related thing is a byproduct, or it's a later evolute after the matter emerged. That's how Sankhya Vaisheshika or Nyaya Vaisheshika or the other means even now in the science, where is mind? Mind may not be seen separately from the operations of the brain and the neurons therein. So it is also basically the working of mind is also seen as an activity of the matter, activity in the matter. So unlike that, Sankhya presents a different perspective. It says from the matter, the software emerges, the inner content emerges, and from that, so the Manas, Ahankara, Buddhi, all that intelligent principles first emerge. But it's very interesting why they conceptualized this way. Normally when we see a child grow, as the child ages, its faculties slowly open up. Initially it will only recognize its mother. Later it will recognize its father also. So gradually its faculty opens up. And the mind slowly, just like as its body and its experiences open up, its mind also develops. But in the cosmic creation, in the creation of the entire universe, it's very interesting as to why this is a question to be probed, that the inner core or the software of the creation is first developed. The Prakriti, Mahat, Ahankara, Panchatanmatra, all that is created, and then the outer manifestation aspect of it, the matter, material manifestation comes later, which is a characteristic difference of a Sankhya Yoga with the Nyaya Vaisheshika or any other systems that we can see with regard to the cosmology aspect of it. Means in computer programming maybe we can relate it. So for development of any product, you just first develop the algorithm, etc. The core of it, you develop the soft or the intelligent aspect of it, you develop first, and then you work out the outer modalities. So that model probably, see, if one can analyze it from this perspective, maybe they looked at the mind aspect, intelligence aspect first, and from that the matter evolved later. So as an intelligent principle which is going to kind of guide the world outside and also the individual soul, all these inner aspects are stated in the cosmological evolution. that is proposed by Sankhya model. Here also, the term Manas is not alone present in Sankhya. It is 3 terms associated are there in Sankhya itself. Ahankara, Buddhi, Ahankara and Manas. These 3 put together, Antahkaranam Trividham. Sankhya Karika 33 says that the complete discussion on the inner sense organ, Antaha Karanam. Antaha is inner, Karanam is the sense. The inner sense organ, if you want to call it as Manas, it comprises of Manas, Buddhi and Ahankara. Or Buddhi, Ahankara and Manas in that order of evolution. You have to maintain that order of evolution. And it's very interesting and intriguing to note that Buddhi has a connotation in an individual's life. Buddhi, when it is called as Mahat, has a connotation to the creation as such. So, there is a individual Buddhi, there is a cosmic Buddhi. Or one Buddhi principle is there, which contributes to the cosmic creation or the creation of the cosmos as such. And there is one Buddhi that guides an individual's life. So, 2 dimensions are to be taken together. The first evolute of the churning of the gunas is Buddhi, and that is called as the Mahat. The later term is usually employed in the context of cosmic evolution. Mahat is the terminology that is used for cosmic creation, while the term Buddhi is used with reference to an individual. But both emerge from the same. Just like in the cosmos, after Prakriti, the next aspect is Mahat. In our individual life also, what happens is, whatever is closest to the consciousness is the Buddhi principle. So Buddhi is the topmost, in the peak in the hierarchy of our internal existence. So that matches with the external creation. So hence it is from that, these 2, microcosmic, macrocosmic. In the microcosm you call it as Buddhi, in the macrocosm you call it as Mahat. So these are all certain intricate aspects which we have to assimilate slowly. If there is an urgency in equating and kind of connecting things, there will be a problem. Probably one more thought that comes in the creation of the cosmology, they probably looked deep into themselves. How do I propose a model of creation of the world? I am a prototype. I am a specimen. I am a specimen of this creation. So see, even in carbon dating and other things, I am an enthusiast in history and archaeology. So when you want to date a particular archaeological evidence, there is a pottery that you get from the archaeological remains. Do you take the entire pot and do the carbon dating? No, you just take a shred of the pot and subject it to the scientific analysis and try to arrive at the date of that particular specimen, which applies to the entire pot. Similarly, probably, so what could be the cause? What could be the structure of this cosmos? How do I arrive at it? Oh, I am a part of this cosmos. I am a product. I am a portion of a specimen of this creation. So let me look into myself. From where can I apply the same principle into the cosmos also? Probably an introspective approach rather than a physical approach to find the cause of the universe, etc. That has led to this kind of a conceptualization. So the hierarchy, the topmost in the internal world, as per Sankhya, here we can see is Buddhi. So which they applied, enlarged it as Mahat for the external world. That could be one possible explanation. And very interestingly, this Mahat also has a lot of Vedic references, and very interestingly, this Mahat is called as the Hiranyagarbha. It is the Chaturmukha Brahman. Later in the Puranic literature, you see this as the creative principle. You call Srishtikarta Brahma, Sthitikarta Vishnu, and then Layakarta Shiva. So who is the Srishtikarta? Going by the cosmological structure, the Srishtika that proposed by Sankhya, respected by all other systems also, Srishtikarta is the Mahat principle. That is the Prathama Jivaha, which is called as Hiranyagarbha. And that Hiranyagarbha creates first Jiva. It is also called as the first Jiva, who is said to recite. All the stories around it was later created by the Puranas, but the structure or the philosophical thing came out of the introspection, and over that the superstructure has been built. The same approach. See, we have to deconstruct all these things, remove all these stories and look at the principle. This is very essential, especially while studying our Indian knowledge systems. In Puranas they will say, Rahu swallows the Grahana, how it is explained. Rahu swallows the sun or moon. Ketu swallows the sun or moon, etc. That's why the sun is not visible on Surya Grahana, the moon is not visible on the Chandra Grahana. This is Purana story. But there is Aryabhatiya and other text which is very clear about the mechanism of working of the Grahana. Chadayati Shashi Suryam Shashinam Mahati Cha Bhuchaya. Shashi Suryam Chadayati. The sun covers, the moon covers the sun. In a sense, the moon comes in between the earth and the sun. So it is Surya Grahana. Shashinam Mahati Cha Bhuchaya. The moon is covered by Bhuchaya, which is shadow of the earth. So explicit, so clear. But if you try to explain all these things to a commoner who is going to, after finishing his work in the field, after toiling hard, he comes and sits under a tree and wants to hear a Harikatha and Purana. You explain all these signs, do you think he may be able to listen to and observe all these things? May not be required. So for him some stories, entertainment, etc. is given, and some good life principles, devotion, etc. is also given. So hence it's very essential to look into what is constructed above and what lies within. So hence in the Purana you call it as Hiranyagarbha, or even the Vedas have certain Puranic elements of storytelling, etc. There, if you have to deconstruct it and look at the philosophy of it, this is the idea. So hence, this is the Buddhi principle. And when we look at the commentary, so much of ideas are there about, see, we have Buddhi, Ahankara and Manas. I am still with Buddhi, already it is 12:45. Okay, so Buddhi is the first evolute, and outside for the cosmos, for us it is the instrument of discretion. And it is nearest to the Purusha of all the evolutes of the Avyakta. There are two things, Vyakta and Avyakta. So actually three things. Vyakta, Avyakta, Jna. Jna is the conscious principle. Avyakta is the unmanifest matter. Vyakta is the manifest dimension of the unmanifest Prakriti. So, of everything that emerges from the unmanifest Prakriti, this is postulated as being very close to the Purusha. This complements the functioning of the Purusha. Purusha is consciousness. Purusha provides consciousness which makes evolution possible, but the Buddhi provides requisite knowledge to attain liberation by isolating Purusha from everything else. The functioning of Buddhi is Adhyavasaya. Adhyavasayo Buddhihi. Certainty leading to action. The Buddhi instructs the individual. So you can see, even in the description, there is a overlapping discussion on the microcosm and also macrocosm. So in this description you should, with a calm mind, you have to separate what is spoken with regard to me as an individual. What is spoken for the cosmological evolution. So we have to acclimatize ourselves to the way the vocabulary and language of Sankhya is presented. Otherwise, it is very easy to pronounce, oh, this is a confused, a convoluted, a confusing literature. The British or those who initially translated the Vedas, they say that, oh, this is nonsense. It has no logical connection. H. Wilson and so many other people who initially translated it, they didn't find any understanding or flow. If you only go by the dictionary, or if there is an urgency in interpreting, you will end up misinterpreting. If you slowly soak yourself in the tradition, slowly separate, oh, this pertains to the microcosm, this pertains to the macrocosm. All this is clarified later in the commentary. If you only go by the shloka and its translation, it will still be confusing. That's why we need to have a calm, you have to understand the style of expression and then try to extract things from it. So the Buddhi instructs the individual that she is not part of Prakriti or evolutes, but is essentially the pure consciousness itself. The Buddhi spurs the man into action, or a person into action. The Buddhi is thus the faculty that guides and bestows man the true understanding which liberates him. It is the paucity of discriminating knowledge that subjects the human being to bondage and suffering. And how many types of Buddhis are there? 8 types of Buddhi are mentioned. So that is 4 aspects of Sattvika Buddhi and 4 aspects of Tamasika Buddhi. Are there no 4 types of Rajasika Buddhi? No. So in Sattva also one should act. In Tamas also one should act. The driving force is Rajas, that's all. So Rajas in itself does not create any category. As per the Sankhya philosophy, we only have 4 types of Sattvika and 4 types of Tamasika Buddhi. What are the 4 types of the Sattvika Buddhi? Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya, Aishwarya. What is Dharma? Dharmo nama daya, dana, yama niyama lakshanaha. Dharma, in the Dharma itself you find yama, niyama, dana, daya, etc. So that is the Dharma. What is the Jnanam? Prakashaha, clarity, enlightenment. I know. So that understanding. Vairagyam. Vairagyam, I have not given that. Vairagyam is viraga bhavaha, disassociation from the Prakriti. And then Aishwaryam. Aishwaryam, Ishwara bhavaha, tacha ashtagunam. That is Anima, Mahima, Laghima, Mahima. All these 8 powers, siddhis. That is Aishwaryam. These are all the qualities that reside in what? Sattvika Buddhi. And if it is cultivated appropriately, the potential is there. If by proper training, these can be manifested. The seeds of everyone are born with these 4 seeds. It all depends upon how you water it. If you water and give proper kind of nourishment, it will manifest. And the opposite to it is tamasic. Adharma, ajnana, avairagya, anaishwarya. So 8 types. So 4 sattvic and 4 tamasic. So this is about buddhi. After that comes ahankara. So arising out of this buddhi and project. See, all this is sketch, all this structure, all this is shaped up. And later when the life forms come to an existence, all these are put in each of the jivatman with the potentials. And then they manifest according to their atmosphere, surroundings and nurturing and bringing up. Okay. So then comes ahankara, arising out of buddhi, and projected from it is ahankara, abhimanaha, ahankaraha, the self-identity, bringing along with it notions of I-ness and mine. Ahankara breeds self-assertion or self-love and even self-conceit and self-pity. Very interesting. How do you position? Time up. Okay, I have not yet finished the Sankhya. Okay. Right, I will take a few more minutes and then wrap it up. From a microcosm perspective, we can understand what ahankara is. I am speaking. You will be saying, I am listening. You may be feeling, I am hungry. So I may be feeling, I have to talk more. So this I is always there at a microcosm level That's easy to understand. At the level of creation, where do you position this I? So probably we can think that the reflection of consciousness falls on the buddhi, and then the matter as if lights up. Just like the reflection of the moon falls on the water. Like that, in the buddhi, the first evolute, the reflection of the consciousness, chiti chaya, falls on that. And later, what happens is, then based on that reflection, see, just like this example is also given later in the Sankhya Karika, when once the king is sitting, all other people will be doing they will be spurred into their activities. So when the king is coming in, then immediately the people who are there in the entrance will announce, and all the other people will get up, and whoever has to give the fan or other things, they will get positioned. So once that reflection of the consciousness is on the matter, the Mahat intelligence comes, and then comes Ahankara, where that intelligence solidifies a little bit. It was only am. It was only am. And later it becomes I am. Oh, I as an entity exists. What should I do? I have these. So then how do I multiply? So that question comes. So first am, that's why it is called as Asmita in Yoga Sutra also. Asmi, that's all. Am, amness. Actually Asmita means amness. And later only it becomes Ahankara, I amness. I as an entity exists. Self-awareness comes. When self-awareness comes, then how should I create this? The creator. Someone emerges and plans for the cosmos. Okay, so that is at a microcosmic level, and there is a lot of story about Ahankara. I am not going to, of course there is a lot of details about it. And from this Ahankara, so you can see that two types of Ahankara is there. Again, Satvikaha, Ekadashakaha, and then from which the 11 sense organs, one Buddhi and Karmendriya, Jnanendriya emerge. That is from Satvika Ahankara. From the Tamasika Ahankara, you get the 5 Tanmatras emerging. Then I have to quickly go into the Manas. With that I will wrap it up. So, from the Satvika Ahankara, 11 elements emerge. The 10 Indriyas plus 1 Manas. The Manas, the first among the group of 16, according to the Karika, is described as Sankalpa. What does the Manas contain? In Vedanta it is Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam. Whereas in Sankhya it is Sankalpakam Manaha. Sankalpakam Mana. That's why you cannot superimpose a Vedantic definition on Sankhya. Because Sankhya only says Sankalpakam Manaha. Vedanta says Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam Manaha. So you should be very careful from which text it comes. Sankalpakam Manaha, or analytical or explicit. The Manas is concerned with a determined perception. It arranges the impulses or sensations coming from the sense organs, organs of action, and is a coordinator of various streams of thoughts, sensations and emotions. It's only a regulator. It is a bridge between the world outside and the buddhi. So it regulates. The Manasa acts as a bridge between the internal and external worlds. It is said to be involved mainly with the persons of waking, basically, according to waking experience. And it is connected Ubhayatmakam. Sankhya Karika says it is Ubhayatmakam. It equally connects with the Karmendriyas and also Jnanendriyas. And it is a sense organ. This view of Nyaya Vaisheshika is accepted here also. It is a sense organ. Indriyam Sadharmyat. Why Manas is a sense organ? Because it emerges from the same cause. Means the 5 Karmendriyas, 5 Jnanendriyas and the Manas, all of them have the same cause, that is Satvika Ahankara. Because it is created from the same cause, that is Satvika Ahankara, These are sense organs. Hence, sadharmya, samana dharma, similar characteristics are there. Similar constitution is there. Only thing is they operate outside. This operates inside. So, sadharmya. And then, being an evolute of gunas, it is variegated. Manas and other senses, all these, it has many natures. It has so many potentials to act in multiple ways. Finally, the knowledge of this Buddhi, Ahankara and Manas. With this, what are you going to do? I started with the same question. The knowledge of all this, what should it culminate in? Overcoming suffering. So, how is this knowledge going to help us in overcoming? So, that is when the practicality of this knowledge is there. Or else you listen to one more lecture and go for lunch. So, how am I going to put it in use? So, that I need not to think. Already the texts are complete with that discussion. Only thing is we have to bring it out. So, because it's a very firm belief in Shastra, prayojanam anuddishya na mandopi pravartate. Even a dullard will not do an action if there is no prayojana or outcome. So, in 55 minutes I have spoken. What is the prayojana of that? How is it going to help us overcome suffering? If that is not reflected upon, all the 55 minutes talk is like, as in Kannada they say, Neeralli Homa. So, performing Homa in water. So, that should not happen. So, the Antahkarana and Bhashyakarana are lamps, present all inputs to the Buddhi on which consciousness is reflected. Ete Pradeepa Kalpaha Krishnam Purushasya Artham Prakashya Buddhau Prayachanti Buddhindriyani Karmendriyani Ahankaraha Manaschaitani Swam Artham Purushasya Prakashya Buddhau Prayachanti Buddhistam Kurvanti Yata Buddhistam Sarvam Vishaya Sukhadikam Purushaha Upalabhate. All these three, what are the three? Ahankara, Buddhi, Manas, all these are especially the Ahankara and Manas, they bring in all the inputs from world outside and deposit on Buddhi. And the reflection of the consciousness is there on the Buddhi. So, this itself gives us a clarity. When you see the world, oh, I am happy, I am unhappy, I am disappointed, and so on and so forth. No, there is a hierarchy of things happening. While you are the pure consciousness, all these reactions are happening only between Ahankara, Manas, and Buddhi. You yourself as pure consciousness is just like the pristine, pure sun. The reflection of the consciousness falls on the Buddhi, and all the reactions are happening only in what? Buddhi. And in reality, you are unaffected. Even after thoroughly analyzing all this, we see that consciousness remains unaffected. It is these three which are undergoing suffering. So hence, I need not take it upon my head. So this clarity itself emerges so that we can distance ourselves from suffering. Then, furthermore, through the practice of Tattva Abhyasa, see, this is Tattva Abhyasa. Tattva means Tasya Bhavaha, what it really is. Certain things may appear, that is not Tattva. Tattva, what is its real nature? What is consciousness' real nature? Unaffected, untouched, unblemished. What is the real nature of Buddhi, Manas, Ahankara? In a constant state of flux and reacting. This is Tattva. If that Tattva is reflected upon, Tattva Abhyasat, the notion of I am not, nothing is mine, and I am not this, all that becomes clear, and then all those notions finally they dissolve. As a result, due to the absence of misperception, pure and absolute knowledge arises. Due to the absence of misperception, all these misperceptions go away. We associate everything into ourselves as a whole, mix up. So don't do the mix up, do the viveka. And then those wrong perceptions go away. Evam tattva abhyasan nasmi name naham ityaparishesham aviparyayat vishuddham kevalam utpadyate jnanam. The four actions especially, the four actions of buddhi is essential. Especially we have to cultivate four actions of the buddhi. Tatra bahyam nama vedaha shiksha kalpa vyakaranam abhyantaram prakriti purusha jnanam iyam prakritihi sattva-rajas tamasam samyavastha ayam purushaha siddhaha nirgunaha vyapi chetanaha iti. So, though four actions, basically two kinds of actions are essential. One is all the knowledge about the world outside is captured under Shiksha, Vyakarana, Kalpa and all the divisions outside, including the sciences of the current day. If you want to understand the world outside, you have to study all these things. If you have to understand the world inside, you study Sankhya, Yoga, etc. Then you have that clarity in the Buddhi, and with a clear Buddhi, you will not be confused. You will not wrongly superimpose the suffering of the world outside on yourself and suffer. So hence, this knowledge of Antakarana is essential this way. I have only spoken about Sankhya, and that too Mahat, Ahankara and Buddhi. Actually, I had insights on Yoga also. What I did was, I'll just finish it in last 1 minute. I just looked into the word manas used in Bhagavad Gita. Rather than going into Yoga Sutra, even before that is Bhagavad Gita, you have manasa, manahaha, manaha, manah prasadaha, manah pranendriya kriyaha, manashashtani indriyani, manasa, manorathaha. There are about 41 occurrences of the term manas and compound terms in which manas is a component. If you analyze these themes on manas in Bhagavad Gita, which is the Yoga Shastra, you have these aspects of manas which are present in Bhagavad Gita. Manas as a causal element, hierarchy in which manas is present in human life, consciousness and manas, desire in the manas, manas and the senses, experiences of the mind and observations about its nature, regulation of manas, methods for regulation, decoding 5 factors in good, bad workings of the manas. So, hence, and that too, only one term manas. There is buddhi, chitta, ahankara. These terms are also used in Bhagavad Gita. So, hence it is a veritable treasure house, mine of information about which I could not speak, or I just could only hint. Now again, finally, how do we use this knowledge, or how do we use these inputs on Sankhya and Yoga, which I could just hint? One is, I just could throw light on the potential for textual research. How much of an idea, how much of knowledge is available. So only on the word manas, there are 41 occurrences. If you analyze, the idea about manas comes through. What if you analyze about buddhi, ahankara, etc.? And yoga is not about Bhagavad Gita. It doesn't start and end with Bhagavad Gita. You have Yoga Vasishta, Yoga Upanishads and other literature. If you analyze, how many ideas may come about. Whoever is interested in textual research can look into these aspects. Second is practical application in counseling work, in psychology. So psychology is all about giving counseling work. So the model that is given, buddhi, ahankara, manas, and these ideas from the Bhagavad Gita, how can we integrate with the psychological models that are present? Can it be revised? Can they give more inputs to the current psychological model? So that can be reflected upon. And finally, these were not intended for, these are byproducts. Textual research on manas in Sankhya and Yoga is a byproduct. Counseling, psychology inputs is again a byproduct of the descriptions on manas. What is the original purpose of all these discussions of all these shastra? It is a tool for sadhana towards moksha. So those who are interested, or ideally everyone should be interested, so that process also, for that process also, this knowledge can be taken as a starting point. Thank you very much. If there are any 2 minutes, if there are any questions? It is 1:03, it's up to you. We'll share, Chairman. Yeah.
So, yes. So now I request the chairperson to share his views on the lecture.
I won't take I won't take much of your time. Usually, the person who chairs a session will be given a bell to ring when it is time. But today, I think I felt pity that Professor Jayaraman could not cover everything, whatever he wanted to. Was interesting and could have sat here for another 1 hour, sir. Could have sat here for another 1 hour listening to the beautiful way in which you were trying to explain many of the things. Like I said, I am just a regular normal molecular biologist. So I will talk from the perspective of a researcher and not really from the scriptural perspective. You know, there is one, I won't take more than 3 or 4 minutes. There is one very famous fictional book, and it was also made into a movie. In that there is one interaction between a pope and a scientist, and the scientist is an atheist. He just is trying to counter the pope by saying what you say in religion or philosophy is not right. The pope has only one line answer to that. He just says, you know, all the conflict is because science is just too young to understand philosophy. You have just started now. Philosophy is much more wider. Religion, which which has that philosophy, is much more wider. Your science is just it's just little small still to understand that. And like Professor Jayaraman sir was saying, you know, wisdom is wisdom. When you say PhD, when you give Nobel Prize for people, for scientists, PhD is called as Doctor of Philosophy. Even if you are working in biology, botany, chemistry, physics, whatever, then why bring philosophy into it? The idea is, by the time you finish your PhD, you should have your own philosophy of life. You should be able to explain anything and everything with the philosophy that you would have evolved during your PhD. That is the idea of PhD, Doctor of Philosophy. And whatever, inventions that has happened until now, many of them, I think almost 85-90% of them are just by chance. It is not when people sat down to think about a solution that they got a solution for what they were thinking. But it was just when they were, doing something else, or when they were trying to take the mind away from that, that is when they hit upon the answers for whatever they were looking for. So that shows that your answer is somewhere deep within you, right? And Professor Jayaraman, what he was trying to, whatever I understood, sir, I know it is much more wider than what I am going to interpret here. So you started by saying it's all for the happiness. Right? It's all for the happiness. Wisdom gives you a happiness, and it is this happiness for which we all strive for, whether through science, whether through philosophy, whether understanding scriptural text. It is all for getting into that state, what we call as somewhat stable. Most of you might have seen, this periodic table, right? In the periodic table, in the last column, what you have is stable elements. Right? Every single element out of this 108, I think they have added 3 or 4 more. I don't know the exact number as of today. Out of these 108 elements, except for those elements that are present in the last column, all the other elements are trying to reach that state, either by losing an electron or by gaining an electron. That is what is the state called as very stable. That is what we are all trying to do, knowingly, unknowingly. You take recourse of philosophy, you take recourse of Vedanta, you take recourse of science. We all are just trying to do the same. And that is what I think beautifully was explained by Professor Jayaraman. Sir, you also mentioned about the flow of information. This is what I found very, very interesting and fascinating. I just wanted to, sitting there for almost 1 hour, which I did not feel at all. It felt like 10, 15 minutes. I just wanted to say thank you to Professor Jayaraman and say that it was very nice. But I have one more thing. I'm not done yet. So the flow of information, how he gave this Buddhi, Ahankara and Manas. Why I am happy that I was here today is because everybody, like I said, everybody develops our own philosophy, right? Many people who come to our laboratory, when I try to explain them how yoga works, this is one question which is still, after being here for almost 10 years now, this is still in my mind and it is still not a clear, convincing answer that I have got how yoga works. Just thinking on that, I have realized that, for example, when you do some asana, in yoga, they usually say stiram. You have to be stiram in that particular asana. That is the USP of yoga as compared to a physical exercise. You have to be stiram. Just imagine you are doing vrikshasana, right? You have one leg supporting the other leg and both your hands up. And for a person like me, you would maybe wobble. Right? You wobble, you are not balancing, your feet are going, trying to adjust to the best possible situation. So what is happening in that situation when you are standing in that pose? You are completely thinking about your body, how you have to balance, why you are not able to balance, what is that you have to adjust. Then, when you finally reach that stable position, you try to tell your mind to just please shut up and let me stay here in that pose for some time, right? So you are actually, what yoga is trying to do is to create self-awareness or mindfulness like Professor Jayaraman was mentioning. Right? This is exactly what yoga is trying to do. And also, this Buddhi, Ahankara and Manas, also as kind of, what do you call, he gave an example of Buddhi as a software and Ahankara as awareness and Manas as that which defines the working. And this is without knowing, I was using something very similar to this to explain yoga. I was always saying it is just the ego, personality and the reasoning. These are the three things. If you are able to control, you are doing yoga or you get all the full benefits of yoga. Ego is nothing but your buddhi that comes to us as as an animal or whatever. And Ahankara is the personality that we develop because of our nature and nurture. And finally, Manas is the reasoning. That is what kind of churns these two. Whatever we have learned from our ego and personality, it churns out and gives you a final output in the form of reasoning. That is why my reasoning could be very different from your reasoning. So I was very, very happy to know that, these concepts, whatever we were thinking is also, but it is there and we were able to think about it. So again, Professor Jayaraman sir, thank you very much, and I felt it was a pity that we could not complete the full session, but we look forward to an extended session on the same topic sometime at your convenience. Thank you all. Thank you all.